Everyone stared in shock at Goku as he stood in the arena, surrounded by a radiant aura they had never seen before. His hair rose, glowing with a brilliant white light, and when his eyes opened, they gleamed like gold, like compressed suns in a single gaze. This wasn't just another transformation, it was something beyond Ultra Instinct. Whis, Gohan, Krillin, even Vegeta in his corner, each one froze in place, overcome with awe and unease. Goku, eyes closed, was listening to a deep inner voice, the voice of Goten. He sighed with gratitude and whispered to himself, "My son, you left a piece of yourself within me, your strength, your pain, your faith in me. Nothing of your sacrifice will be lost." Then he snapped his eyes open, golden light blazing within them, shaking the very air around him. In his heart, like thunder, echoed his vow, "Goten, I swear, even if the entire universe stands against me, I will avenge you." As he stretched out his hands and began to charge, the very fabric of space trembled. His roar shook the earth, rattled the skies, and split the ground beneath them. His friends staggered back, stunned by the overwhelming change. Even Whis dared not approach. The shockwaves didn't stop at Earth. They reached the realms of the kings. Belmod, Champa, and the other gods of destruction all felt the crushing pressure. Some muttered with concern, "This is an unprecedented power." Others objected, "If we allow this to continue, none of our rule will remain." In the palace, the childlike Zeno clapped and laughed. "Wow! Our hero is back! This is so much fun!" But the Grand Priest, his eyes darkened with fury, thought to himself, "Enough. I cannot allow this any further. I must find a chance to step in myself. He has reached a level that even threatens my children." Finally, the trembling ceased, but the silence that followed was heavier than any storm. Goku stood still, eyes shut, as if fighting an internal battle to control this new transformation that had erupted from his very core. His friends struggled to catch their breath. Krillin whispered, "Is that Goku? Or are we looking at something else entirely?" Gohan said firmly, "This power, it doesn't feel like just a warrior's strength. It's something beyond the reach of even kings." All eyes turned to Whis, waiting for his judgment. He sighed, concerned in his voice, and declared, "What I see before me, no one has ever achieved. It's a rare fusion between Ultra Instinct and the Super Saiyan transformation, a mixture beyond description. I could call it the Golden Ultra Instinct." When Goten's power merged with Goku's, he embodied the technique within the very form of a Super Saiyan at its first stage. Yet even so, I believe this transformation is incomplete. Everyone was stunned. Vegeta nearly exploded with rage, his fists trembling as he shouted within himself, "Kakarot! Once again you surpass me. He's reached a point where he can toy with the technique itself and merge it with Super Saiyan. How am I supposed to endure this? He's 2 steps ahead of me again." But Beerus, just a few steps away, wasn't sharing their awe. He was tense to the core, staring at Goku, whose blazing golden eyes held nothing but vengeance. Goku began walking slowly, heavily towards Beerus. Each step was like a blade cutting through the breaths of those watching. Whis was sweating, troubled thoughts racing through his mind. There is no way Beerus can withstand this power. I must intervene, but if I do, I'll wound his pride. His dignity means more to him than his life. Goku stopped right in front of Beerus, raising his hand slowly towards him, without uttering a word. Beerus found himself in a position no one would envy, with every gaze fixed upon him. Even the other destroyers watched, waiting for his reaction. Unable to allow himself to appear weak or afraid, Beerus roared, his voice shaking the cosmos. "I will leave no trace of you in existence, Goku." His body ignited with a torrent of energy, unleashing an attack born of wounded pride and long-suppressed fury. It was an explosion unlike anything ever witnessed from Beerus before. Goku's friends backed away, screaming, "Goku!" They thought he had been swallowed by the devastating storm. Even Gohan cried out, "Father!" But in the midst of the rising dust and flying debris, only one chilling sentence came from Whis' lips, his calm tone striking like lightning. "He hasn't even used the slightest fraction of his new power yet." Silence reigned for a moment. Then the dust finally cleared. Goku stood exactly where he had been, his hand still raised toward Beerus. His body bore not even the faintest scratch. More than that, his expression showed no concern at all, as if he hadn't felt anything in the slightest. Beerus's eyes widened, his body trembling even more than before. On another planet, Champa watched silently, biting his teeth. Rage consumed him, not because Beerus had been struck down, but because Beerus's opponent was Goku. He slammed his hand down, shouting, "That damned Goku, always breaking past limits. I won't allow him to rise any further." But Vados, at his side, closed her eyes and shook her head slowly, her voice calm but chillingly cold. "Do not pursue the thought you're entertaining, Champa. Intervening now is not an option. What you see before you lies far beyond your reach. To approach this conflict could mean your annihilation." Goku turned his golden, gleaming eyes back toward Beerus, his cold features carrying a razor-edged mockery. His voice was deep and cutting. "So, this is how the god of destruction ends. I expected you'd at least move me a few centimeters, but it seems I'll have to hasten your erasure, Beerus." Before anyone could comprehend, Goku vanished like a flash of lightning, reappearing directly before Beerus. A single strike, impossibly fast, drove into his chest. No one even saw the motion, not even Whis, who muttered in shock, "That speed, I've never witnessed anything like it." Beerus crashed into the ground with brutal force. His body sprawled, gasping, drowning in helplessness. Goku advanced with calm, heavy steps, each one radiating dread. His voice was icy, merciless. "Don't worry, I was only testing the effect of this new transformation. That blow that sent you crashing down, it was only 1% of my power." Everyone shuddered. Even Vegeta's eyes flew wide in disbelief. 1%, and this transformation isn't even complete yet. Piccolo muttered in shock. If that's true, Beerus doesn't stand a chance. Rage seethed inside Goku like a sealed volcano, his voice trembling with restrained fury. "I've defended you, Beerus, even from my own son's wrath, but you had no hesitation in stealing him from me. Now, I will not spare you." The ground quaked with every step he took. Beerus barely lifted his head, panting, as he saw Goku's shadow looming closer. Even Whis stood frozen in conflict, torn between the duty to protect Beerus and the reality that bound his silence. Goku raised his hand, golden energy flaring, his blazing eyes fixed on Beerus. His voice rang cold and steady. "This is your end, Beerus." But before he could release his power, the very fabric of space shook as a mighty voice boomed from Zeno's palace. It was the Grand Priest, angrier than anyone had ever heard him. "Whis, intervene immediately. Do not allow this to continue." The words carried the weight of a divine command, leaving Whis no choice. In an instant, faster than any movement he had shown before, he shattered the barrier of time and space and lunged toward Goku. The ground erupted beneath the impact, thick clouds of dust rising to choke the sky. Krillin screamed, "What's happening? Did Whis attack Goku?" Gohan stood frozen, unable to believe what his eyes were witnessing. Vegeta clenched his fists, his voice filled with disbelief. Impossible. Whis intervening against Kakarot. When the dust cleared, the scene was undeniable. Goku still stood in place, his body unmoved, though a faint red line marked his cheek, a single shallow wound. Yet his eyes remained cold, as though nothing had occurred. Whis, meanwhile, had pulled Beerus far away from the brink of obliteration. His expression was more serious than anyone had ever seen, his voice sharp and commanding as he shouted, "Enough, Goku! You cannot continue further. You'll bring catastrophe upon the entire universe." But Goku's reply was merciless.
chilling in its calm. Catastrophe. Beerus brought it first when he killed my son. And you, Whis, you have brought disaster upon yourself. I will not overlook your interference. Even if the whole universe stands against me, I will never forget my son's blood. You're next. Goku surged forward with impossible speed, beyond the comprehension of all who watched, and struck Whis with a devastating blow that shook the earth itself. For the first time, Whis's body was hurled back, crashing to the ground. His friends gasped in horror, unable to believe what they had just seen.
In the royal palace, the Grand Priest watched the scene, his expression growing more tense with every moment. He clenched his fists, muttering to himself, "No, at this rate, Whis will be forced to fight with his full power, and the universe will be destroyed. If I must, I'll defy Zeno's orders himself. I cannot allow this catastrophe to spread. Zeno doesn't understand the danger. He's only entertained." On Earth, Goku advanced slowly toward Whis, raising his hand once again, preparing energy vast enough to erase existence itself. His voice rumbled. "Believe me, Whis, even if you unleash your full strength, my blood is boiling, and you cannot stop me while I bear the weight of avenging my beloved son." But Whis, despite his injuries, smiled with an unnatural calm, his voice carrying an unnerving edge. "Congratulations, Goku. You've now reached 50% of my maximum power." Everyone froze. Krillin shouted in disbelief. 50%? That's impossible. Gohan swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "Father, you've surpassed the limits of reason itself." Yet Goku remained unmoved by the revelation. His cold gaze never left Whis as he charged a killing blow. But before he could release it, space split apart with a shining beam of light. Vados appeared, her face cold as ice, and beside her stood a furious Champa, his voice booming like thunder. Shock gripped everyone. No one had imagined a destroyer from another universe would intervene at this moment. But Champa, his round face twisted with fury and defiance, roared, "I came because I swore one day I'd defeat Beerus, and I'll never allow anyone else to destroy him. Goku won't take that honor from me." Beerus, still lying on the ground, lifted his eyes toward his brother. With effort, he rose slowly. He said nothing, but his expression betrayed a readiness, not just to accept the challenge, but to join forces for the first time. Their eyes met, and for once it seemed they agreed on a single enemy. Goku smirked, his golden eyes glinting with ruthless confidence. His voice was calm, mocking. "Even if you unite, it won't matter. I could end your lives in seconds, but I'll give you the honor of trying. 1 minute of fun with you, no more." Both destroyers felt the insult burn, then attacked in unison. Their deadly strikes aimed straight for Goku, but the shock was immediate. Their hands froze before touching him, as though bound by an invisible force. The instant Goku released a blazing surge of aura, the light erupted like a volcano, blasting them both away, tumbling across the ground. Refusing to give up, they regrouped at a distance and unleashed a storm of attacks. But every blast dissolved into nothingness, fading like smoke before Goku. Meanwhile, Vegeta stood frozen, veins bulging with fury. His heart could no longer bear watching Goku outshine him this completely. Suddenly, he spun around, only to find Universe 7's Supreme Kai standing close behind, watching him with strange intent, as though a dangerous idea had just taken root. Goku was preparing to unleash his final strike, his aura threatening to tear the world apart. A confident smile crossed his face as he declared, "The minute is over. This is your fate." But before he could fire, a violent explosion thundered from the sidelines.
Everyone froze, eyes darting toward the source. As the dust cleared, the sight before them struck like lightning. Universe 7's Supreme Kai lay lifeless on the ground, his aura completely gone. The shock was immeasurable. He wasn't felled by some unknown enemy, but by Vegeta himself. Standing stiff, his face grim, eyes burning sharp with fury, his body trembled as though ablaze. Their friends screamed in horror. "Vegeta! What have you done?" Even Goku froze, his face tightening with disbelief. But the greatest impact was on Beerus. His body shook violently, his energy beginning to fade, for the death of a Supreme Kai meant the death of a god of destruction. He collapsed to his knees, gasping, then turned his weary eyes to Whis and spoke in broken words. "Whis, I never thought this would be my end. Take care of yourself and protect the sanctities." Then he looked to his brother Champa, his features twisted with sorrow and restrained anger. "You fool! How dare you leave me now?" And in one devastating instant, Beerus's aura completely vanished. His body dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind only a crushing emptiness.
Everyone shouted angrily at Vegeta, demanding an explanation, but he did not utter a single word. His eyes were fixed on the ground, as though he carried a secret far too heavy to speak aloud. Only Goku kept staring at him in silence, and inside, he whispered to himself, "Vegeta, I know you didn't do this out of betrayal. There's something else behind your choice, something far more painful than any of us can imagine." At that moment, the Grand Priest finally stepped forward, appearing in the center of the arena. His blazing eyes swept over everyone, and their bodies trembled, especially Vado's, who tried to hide her fear behind a frozen expression. The Grand Priest advanced toward Whis, his steps echoing across the ground. His voice rose with authority and unshakable command. "Judgment will be passed, and all who transgressed shall suffer their punishment without mercy. You, Whis, you dared to fight beyond the bounds of what was permitted. Though you are my beloved son, your actions are unforgivable. You will be stripped of the honor of an angel, cast adrift without meaning, without a station, lost within existence itself." Tears flowed from Vado's eyes, her heart crushed with sorrow and disbelief. She knew Whis had erred, but never imagined he'd be stripped of everything so mercilessly. Meanwhile, Goku stood still with his eyes shut, as though nothing mattered to him anymore. Whis walked forward slowly, removing his divine attire as though shedding the last of his dignity. Lifting his head toward the Grand Priest, he spoke with a hoarse yet calm voice filled with acceptance. "I understand that I have exceeded my station, that I am no longer worthy of an angel's honor. I accept your judgment, Father, even if I am left wandering without identity." Silence filled heavy, until the Grand Priest turned toward Vegeta, his tone harsher than before. "Vegeta, you are the cause of Beerus's and the Supreme Kai's deaths. Your crimes cannot go unpunished. Your sentence is long imprisonment, that you may learn the meaning of restraint after living a life chasing strength without limits." Vegeta clenched his fists, rage burning within him, but he held it back with difficulty. Trunks ran desperately toward his father, tears streaming down his face as he cried, "Father!" But everyone knew the harshest judgment had yet to come. The Grand Priest raised his hand, his voice shaking the arena with dread. "And now it is Goku's turn. His punishment shall be the greatest of all, for he awakened chaos, overturned the balance, and disrupted the order of existence itself. He shall be cast into the void dimension, where there is no time, no life, not even death. He will remain there forever, trapped in the unbearable emptiness, for there can be no forgiveness for one who has defiled the sacred and awakened calamity." The sentence struck their hearts like thunder. Goku's friends froze where they stood, tears brimming in their eyes. Gohan screamed, his voice broken with grief. "No, it can't be. I already lost my brother Goten, and now I'll lose you too, Father?"
Krillin and Master Roshi wept openly, begging for mercy. The old man's trembling voice pleaded, "Great priest, please lessen the punishment. Goku isn't evil. He has always fought for justice." But Vados raised her hand, her voice sharp and unyielding. "Silence. My father never retracts a decree. What has been spoken is already written." In this collapse, Goku stood still, eyes closed, like one without feeling. But suddenly, he took a deep breath and his lips parted with calm, heartfelt words. "I know this all happened because of me, because I crossed the line. I ask your forgiveness, all of you, but believe me, my intentions were always pure. I will not be alone. Goten's spirit remains within me. His energy runs through my body, and it will accompany me wherever I go." Gohan broke down further, his voice trembling. "Father, don't leave me. I can't lose you too?" Goku stepped closer, giving him a gentle, clear smile. "Gohan, listen carefully. Goten always wanted to master Ultra Instinct. What I did for him, even if it ended this way. Now it's your turn. Carry his legacy. Use your time to reach where he did, and be the shield that protects Earth." His words pierced every heart as the countdown began. Goku closed his eyes again, whispering softly as if speaking to Goten, "I'm at peace. We will meet again. Somewhere, someday." In a blinding flash, Goku vanished, alongside Vegeta, leaving behind an indescribable grief. Days passed, and sorrow consumed everyone. Nothing remained but an empty void filling the air. In the world of the void, where there was no sound, no light, not even death, Goku sat in absolute stillness, his body frozen like a statue, his face devoid of expression. No wind, no life, only eternal emptiness. He sat in thought, trying to comprehend what had happened, but even his thoughts faded, dissolving into nothingness. And then, suddenly, from a distant corner of the darkness, a mysterious face began to form. Its features were unclear, only faintly glowing eyes. The stranger whispered to himself, "A new soul has been cast here. This has not happened in ages. I have waited for so long. Perhaps now, my time has come."